How's it going, everyone? My name is Khalid. I'm the game developer of Miko Adventures Puffball, and I'm currently working on my next upcoming secret project. And I wanted to create this video because I got a lot of requests about it for such a long time, and I just didn't have the time. And so I decided to, when I release my game, Miko Adventures Puffball, it's on Steam. Check it out in the description. I'm gonna make this video. So basically, it's going to be a very basic video for people who are just starting to use GDevelop. Um, I just wanted to make this video to make it easy for anyone who is just starting to know about GDevelop, how the engine is working, and how to do stuff, how to do simple stuff, and how the engine basically works or behaves. So I just thought to get started from the website itself. So basically, it says it's game making for everyone, and this is very true. Use GDevelop to build your game. It's free, fast, open source, and so easy to use that you will never look at the games the same way. You can make amazing games like these, for example. You can use events, and we're going to talk about this. This is basically how the programming works in GDevelop. You don't need to learn JavaScript, you don't need to learn C Sharp, you don't need to learn any of the complicated stuff to create games. You can actually make games like this, for example. You can make a lot of cool stuff. And you can also publish your game. This is the coolest thing about GDevelop. You can publish your game anywhere and in one click, and for free. You don't need to have a license. You don't need to do anything. It's an open source and it's totally free. Um, there's also a wiki for GDevelop that you can also go to if you are lost about something. So basically, let me just show you over here. You have the wiki for the engine. You can basically look for anything if you wanted to, like basically the basic game making concept. You have the interface, you have the objects, you have events, you have behavior, you have everything that you may think of, and it's always getting updated. And if there's anything new with new updates, it's always getting added here. And these are very well written, and they are always updated if there's something new at the engine. I highly recommend checking the wiki if you are feeling lost, and if you didn't have or like find what you're looking for. You can always get to into the GDevelop community and basically ask whatever you want here. You can go into the how do I and ask. You have all kinds of questions here you need to check out, look at. You can always search for what you want over here, and you're gonna get results for from people who are actually always asking about questions about stuff they don't know how to work and how to do this stuff and that kind of stuff. So I highly recommend asking here if you don't find what you're looking for in the wiki. That being said, let's just jump into the engine. So as you can see, this is basically the opening page of GDevelop. So basically, you have the getting started and tutorials. You have the create new object and open a open a project. And basically, open a project if you already have a project, but we don't. So we're gonna create a new project. You have here examples that the community and the GDevelop team has actually made. I highly recommend checking out the particle effects demo and the game field demo, as they're gonna give you what the engine is actually capable of, and they are very fun to play with this stuff. So we also have simple platform game. You can learn from it the basics of how to create a platformer, and we have 8-bit space shooter, geometry monster, isometric games, downhill bike racing. You have a lot of different examples, and there are always new ones that are coming and updating. So you can also check out the examples if you want to. This one is so amazing, and it's like totally made by the community. It's always like very helpful. You can always like search for a lot of stuff here. You can get a lot of ideas, do whatever you want with the code over here. So basically, if I search for example double jump, I get an example that someone actually made about double jump, and I know how to make double jump. So using examples is can actually answer some of your questions if you have on the community. I highly recommend checking examples, and there are, I think, almost a 100 example um, in the engine right now, and they are always getting more and more. So yeah. So for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna start an empty game so we can start from scratch and know how and know the basics of the engine, how things actually work in the engine. So we're gonna start with an empty game. Now we're gonna have this scene over here. Gonna have this page that says game settings, and then we have scenes. We have external events, external layouts, function, and behaviors. We're gonna just leave this away for now. We're gonna leave this, and we're gonna leave this. We're gonna look at the game settings. We're gonna go into the properties. Here you can change the game name. You can change the version of your game. Here you can change the package name if you're using if you're packaging your game for iOS and Android. We're gonna leave this. We can change the resolution of your game. So basically, if your game is 800 by 600, you can leave it, or you can change it to like by 1080, 720. You can do whatever you want. I always game resolution resize mode. I prefer to not just keep it no changes. Minimum FPS. I highly recommend to keep this at 60, and the maximum keep it at 0, which means unlimited. So it's the least FPS you're gonna play at is 60, and the maximum is gonna be unlimited. So if your game your game basically can run in any kind of refresh rate. So if someone have a screen with 144 hertz, they can always play your game smooth, and if they have 60, they can also play smooth, and so on. So you can change the device orientation of your game if you're for using Android or iOS. If your game is for iOS or Android, sorry, you can change it if it's landscape or portrait. Okay, here is the rendering mode for linear is a bit heavy, and it's used for most games. Basically, it's like smoother looking and better. And nearest is no anti-aliasing, so basically it's better for pixel games, you know. We can have the publisher names here. So basically this is your company name, or even your name if you are publishing your games. And that's about it. So we're gonna click apply. This is the global variables. We're not gonna talk about this because this is kind of advanced, so I don't want to make this video a bit heavy on the new people. I just wanted to show you what the engine is all about. We can change the icons. This is basically the icon of your game when people like click on it, basically on the desktop, for example, or on Android. It's very easy. So basically, you choose your icon from here, and it's gonna automatically change its size to fit all of this. This is the resources, and basically this page have all the resources that you have in your game. So all the images, audio, and everything, also always like it's all stored in the resources. Now we're gonna go into the scenes. This is the basic and the most important part of your game. Your game consists of scenes, so we're gonna click on the add to add a new scene like this. So this is the scene that you have in your game. This is basically the first scene, for example. And if we click the preview button, which plays your game, it's basically empty because we don't have anything in the scene. So this is this is where you put objects. This is how you do stuff in your game. This is where you put stuff in your game. This is the object panel. This is the properties of these objects. You can scroll up and down for zooming in or zooming out. You can press space and click to drag. Okay, so we're gonna click here to create an object. We have many types of objects. We have a sprite, tiled sprite, text, and so on. We have the sprite. So basically, if your object have animation, I highly recommend using sprite. If your object is a background and doesn't have an animation, and it's always like repeating in the background, I highly recommend using tiled sprite. We have the text. We have the particles emitters, which it does like it emits particles for effects and stuff. We're gonna use a sprite. It's gonna give it like a name. We're gonna call it player. We're gonna add an animation. We can add the animation from here directly if we have the animation of the character, or we can just draw it with Piscal. We're gonna just color anything like this. with any color. We're gonna make that player red. We're gonna call it player, and we're gonna save. Now this is the player, okay, or the animation of the player. Okay, we're gonna click apply, and then we're gonna add a new object, also a sprite. We're gonna call it floor, and then we're gonna add an animation, edit with Pisco, and then we're gonna make a black floor. We're gonna rename this to floor, save it, and then apply. Don't forget to file, save your project always while you're working so you don't lose your work. Okay, we're gonna drag. You can also always drag from the objects into the scene like this, or you can reorder the objects if you want. So we're gonna click the player, drag it in the scene. These borders are what your camera is seeing right now. So if I put the player over here, the camera, it will preview nothing. If I put the player inside the camera and hit preview, it will show the player. I can then grab the floor and press, and we just transform the size like this. As you can see, when I press here, we have different properties for objects. So if I click here, we have the objects, we have the X and Y position of this object. As you can see, it's changing based on the position. Oh, by the way, I can double click on the object to get back here, or I can just basically right click and then edit object. Okay, the 0 and 0 is over here, starting from here, and then it goes all the way. We have the angle of the object. Over here we can make it 45, for example, and that kind of stuff if you want to. We can lock the object in the editor, so I can't like choose it. If I'm choosing a lot of objects and I don't want to choose this one, I can basically lock this object, and I'm not gonna be able to choose it. This is the Z order. So basically, if I have the floor and the player, this is basically, as you can see, the Z order here as 1 on the player, and the floor have 2. So basically the floor is bigger than the player Z order, so the floor is on top of the player. I can make the player on top of the floor if I make the Z order, for example, larger or bigger than the floor. So it's gonna be 3. 3 is bigger than 2, so 3 is gonna be on top of 2, and so on. This is the Z order. Basically it says who is on top of who, you know. This is the layers. So I can put objects on different layers, and if every single layer will have its own Z order and will not affect the Z order of the others. So I can change the custom size of the object. So basically if I want to make it like 200 by 200 and then enable the custom size, it will change the custom size, or I can actually transform from here. As you can see, it's very easy. We have the animation. It's always like this, the default is at 0. We're gonna go over here, back here, and then we have the animation 0. This is 0. If I add an animation, it's gonna be called 1. I can edit with Pisco, and I go like here, make another one green, for example, and as you can see, we have animation 0, we have animation 1, and if I go into the scene, change this animation to 1, it's gonna change to the animation 1 over here. Okay, this is useful if your player have an idle animation, running animation, and so on. We're gonna keep this at 0. You don't need to worry about instance variables for now. Okay, so you have your player and you have your floor. So you're thinking to yourself now, well, I have a game, right? I have a player that can walk on the floor. Well, if I press preview, you don't really have anything, it's just floating. But you need to add behaviors to these objects in order for them to work. They are not just magically gonna work. So you're gonna double click on your player, click on behaviors, and then you can add a behavior to the object. Give it a behavior, give it something to do. So we can make this player a platform. Now, of course, I don't want to make the player a platform. I want to make it a platformer character that walks on a platform. So we're gonna make a platformer character. We're gonna click apply, and then we're gonna go into the floor behaviors, add a behavior, and we're gonna make this floor a platform. Okay, we're gonna just remove ledges can be grabbed. And we have like platforms types. We have platform, we have jump through platform, and we have a ladder. We can change whatever we want, and we're gonna explain all of these. Now if I go to the platform and click apply, and now we have this as a platformer character and this as a platform. Now let's go ahead and preview, and as you can see, it's gonna have a gravity, and I can actually move right and left, and I can even jump if I want to. Cool. Cool. Now let's get into the player and the behavior. Now let's understand what is going on over here. We have the platformer character. Now we have something called the acceleration, and then we have something called deceleration. We can lower this to like 200, for example. Let's make this max speed to 500. This is how fast the object is moving. We're gonna click apply, and as you can see, if I press left and right, it's gonna be slowly, gradually, it's gonna be slowly moving into 200. Sorry, 500, the maximum speed of the object. So if I go, it's gonna go slow from 0 to 500. Okay, but if I make this acceleration very high, like 10,000 for example, it's gonna immediately go to 500, like this, as you can see. Now, as you can see, it's a bit sloppy when it's like standing still, and that's why, because we just changed the acceleration, we didn't change the deceleration, which is the slowing down from 500 to 0. It's gradually slowing. No, we don't need this. We need it to be like, again, pixel perfect. This is how I like it in my games, to make the moving character a bit more stiff, and we need to make the player a lot more um, pixel perfect, you know. So as you can see, if the moment I press a key, the player is gonna move. So listen to the key. Okay, so as you can see, whenever I press, the player moves, and this is very good in your game if you're making a platformer game, because it makes it fair for the player who is playing your game. Moving your character pixel perfect always gives your game a lot more better controls. So we continue over here. We have the default controls, which basically means left, right, space, and shift to jump, and these are basically the original controls that GDevelop gives the character, the platformer object, but you can change those in the events. You can actually disable this, and basically it's not gonna move now, but we can change this in the scenes, in the events, sorry. We're gonna remove, like, leave this grab thing. We have the gravity. We have like 1000 gravity at the moment, as you can see. So I'm gonna put the preview over here, and then if I click, you're gonna see this is basically gravity 1000. But what if I make the gravity 3000 and then click apply, and then we hit apply, and as you can see, it's just the grabbing of the gravity is a lot more powerful here, as you can see. And this is how I actually like it in games, but this, we're gonna edit more. We're gonna add the behavior. We're gonna change the jump speed to like something like 900 for example, and then press apply, and as you can see, this feels a lot better, you know. We may make it a lot more, and we can also change the max folding speed to 1000 for example. Click apply, and as you can see, this feels a lot more stiff and a lot more pixel perfect, you know. I want the player to feel the player moving smoothly around in the level or in the scene or wherever. Okay, so now we're gonna understand the difference between the floors, because we have here a platform, a jump through platform, and a ladder. Now, of course, you know what the ladder is, of course, but what is a jump through platform? We are gonna make a platform over here. This is the normal platform. We're gonna make a new object, sprite, add an animation, physical, and then we're gonna make a jump through, save, and then we're gonna apply. Now if I grab this, go here, make it a bit smaller, and if I give it a behavior platform, and then we jump through platform, apply, and then we click preview, and as you can see, this is a jump through platform. Jump through, I can jump through it. This is a non-jump through platform, this is a normal platform, so it's basically static and stuff like this, solid, you know. So I can jump through this one, I cannot jump through this one. Okay. Now we go into the events. But before this, let me show you how to add a text. We can just add a text. Let's game this is a game. We change the size to like 50, the color maybe red. We can make it bold, we can make it even italic. We can change even the font if you have the font file. We're gonna click apply, and I can basically just drag this over here. Click apply, and as you can see, it's everything in the preview working just fine. Okay, I can now go into the events, click a new empty event. Now, every single scene in GDevelop comes with another tab over here called events. So basically, any event you put here affects this scene over here. So events are basically the programming language of GDevelop. So right now it's saying there are no events here. So for example, of course we're gonna add a new event. So I can click add a new event here, or I can basically just click and add a new empty event from here. Here it says add a condition and add an action. This is basically called an event. If something is going on, then do this something. If I'm pressing a key, then do this something. So let's say if I'm pressing the E key, it changes the color of the player. So we're gonna go into add conditions. You're gonna find one for objects and one for other conditions. We're gonna go for other conditions because we want the keyboard condition. We're gonna make the key pressed. What key pressed? The E key. Okay, and then if so basically it says if the E key is pressed, then we're gonna add an action that has something to do with a player, of course, like the object. So basically we need to change a color of the player, so it has to do something with the player. So we're gonna go into the player, and then we're gonna write down here in the search color, and then we have the tint color, and then we can change the color to basically red, for example, and then we click OK. So when we press E, we can change the player color to red. Wait, the player is already red, so we're gonna change it to any other color like blue. Okay, and then we're gonna start. So as you can see, I'm playing over here. Here's the jump through, here's the platform, everything is normal. Now press E, and it's gonna change it to blue, of course. Okay, now I can copy and paste this, Control C, Control V like normal. If I press Q this time, Q, now we're gonna change the tint of the color to back to normal, and the normal color is white. So we're gonna click OK, and then we're gonna start the preview, and as you can see, I can jump, press E to change to blue, press Q to get back to normal, press E, Q, EQ. Okay, now let's do another something. We're gonna move this object over here, and then we're gonna make a new event, and then we are gonna add an action without a condition. So when we're adding an action without a condition, it's basically updating every frame because we don't have a condition, so it's happening every single second. So we're gonna add an action to this object, which is the jump through platform, and we're gonna change the X position so it's moving left or right, and we're gonna add, and we're gonna click, for example, 1. So it's basically adding 1 pixel in the X position. If we preview this, as you can see, it's moving over here, and I can even walk on it. Very simple stuff, you know. Now let's do something. What if I want to restart the scene because I don't want to close the game and open it every time? I can basically copy this like this, paste it. Let's say when the R key is pressed, then we change the scene, change the scene to the new scene, which is the scene that we're playing in. So if I hit preview, now we have a jumping character. We can press E to change to blue, we can change Q, we can walk on the platform, jumps through platform, and it's moving. And we can press R to repeat or like reset the scene. Resetting the scene is basically changing to the current scene you're in. Okay, if I press R again, okay, now we're gonna make a new condition. We're gonna change the Y position of this, and we're gonna make it a negative so it goes up. We're gonna close this one, and we're gonna go here and change this one. Hit preview. As you can see, it's going up this time. Now of course if I add, it's gonna go down, and if I go into subtract here, it's gonna go left. Now of course what I did here is basically disable, because if I didn't disable, then it's gonna activate X and Y position, so it's gonna go in an angle. So basically it's adding 1, so it's going to from like to the right, and it's going up, so it's gonna look like this. Let's put it here, and it's gonna look like this. It's going 2 directions. You see what I mean? Okay. But if I disable toggle disabled, like it's saying, tell the preview that this event is disabled, and then when you hit review, it's gonna go only up because this one is only active. Now there is also another one of the position. We can change both the positions at the same time. Instead of making one for X and one for Y, we can always change the position for both at the same time. We can say add one on the X, subtract one on the Y. We're gonna toggle this disabled, and boom, it's the same effect but only one event. Okay, we're gonna change this character and make it a bit more we're gonna draw like an eye here. We're gonna save, or like an angry character like this, or I don't know. Okay, we're gonna save this one, apply. So as you can see, it's always applying. And then we're gonna see another event. For example, I want the player to be flipped when I press A, or I'm sorry, when I press left or right. So we're gonna click on the player. I'm sorry. We're gonna add a new event. We change the color, and we change the player look. And then we're gonna add a new event. So when I press the key right or left, when I press the key left, we're gonna change this player. We're gonna make it, we're gonna flip it. Oh, there we go. Flip the object horizontally. Activate flipping, yes. And then we're gonna copy and paste. Now we go for the right, and we're gonna say no. Now if I go right, it doesn't do anything, but if I go left, it's flipping the character. Left and right, it's flipping the character, as you can see. Okay. Okay, let's toggle this disabled and get a new event, new easy one. Now I can, like I said before, for example, for me, I like to play with WASD. I don't want to play with left and right, so I can actually get into the player, go to behavior, and change or like disable this default controls so the player now does not move using the left and right. But I can change this. So if I copy and paste, so basically when I press D, for example, we're gonna go to the player, and then we're gonna simulate pressing the right, because D is the right key, moving right. And then we go for A, and then simulate pressing left key. This is how what I said about changing, or like changing what the player, how the player moves from the events, and it's a lot better from the events instead of the default controls. We're gonna copy and paste. We're gonna press space. When I press space, we're gonna simulate jump key. Okay, we're gonna also need to change these two. So I want to flip the characters two with me. So we're gonna like when I press D, it's not gonna flip, but when I press A, it's gonna flip. Now we're gonna go to the preview, and as you can see, I'm using like the A and D and space to jump. Okay, now here's how you can center the camera on the character. So we're gonna add a condition, add an action, sorry, add an action, and then other actions, and then we're gonna search for camera. So we're gonna center the camera on an object, the player, and then click OK. It's very simple. And then we're gonna play, and as you can see, the camera now is centered on the object, like so. Like it's already turning into a game. I'm gonna show you what I mean. So we're gonna put this object here. We're gonna put the player here, so the player is gonna start. Let's make the player start here. So I created this small scene. Okay. I can press preview, and then I can basically jump. I need to move this platform, so we're gonna move this here, and then I click play, and as you can see, I'm playing a game. And yeah, this is basically how GDevelop works. You're basically testing stuff around the engine to see how it works. So basically, while I'm working on my next project, and it's a bit complicated to work in a in an environment where so many objects are available, you know, but I try to always leave my project, and if I want to like test a new idea or a new concept for my game, I open a new project, a new empty project like I did here, and then I test what I want to do until I get it right, and then I implement this idea into my project, into my game. So yeah, that's how I actually work with GDevelop. I'm always like testing how the engine works, and then I step it up every single time, you know. We started with changing colors. Now we have a fully moving character with that was D and A, and we can jump, we can center the camera, we can do a lot of stuff. We can make a whole game out of this, but I just don't have the time for this. This is gonna take uh like a full day to make a decent game out of this, but it's very possible to make a game out of just a simple concept like this. So yeah, if you're just starting on GDevelop, just don't lose hope. Game development is not an easy job. It's not an easy thing. It took me, I think, 5 years to create a game like Miko Adventures Puffball. Um, it took a lot of learning, a lot of moments where I failed. So yeah, just take your time and don't lose hope on your idea, and start making your idea come to life with this engine. It's a miracle, to be honest, because when you look at other engines like Unity and Unreal Engine and this kind of stuff, it's just very complicated for newcomers, you know, and I never got into it, you know. I just never got into it because it's just so complicated, you know. I know it's a lot more powerful, but I made this with GDevelop, so I'm pretty sure I can create a lot more advanced stuff with this engine. I'm not like closely even done with this engine. I have a lot more to give. Yeah, that's all. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope you learned something from this video. If you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and write in the comments if you need anything from like if you have a request, if you wanna go a little more with this, if you wanna see more stuff, more advanced stuff, let me know what's on your mind. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to check out my game, Miko Adventures Puffball. It's on Steam, and always also on itch.io. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave the links in the description and everything. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.